Hello everyone, I'm Melanie with Paint and Crafty, and today is my first time going live on YouTube. And I'm sure I don't have all the bugs worked out on how to do this, but we're going to give it a good try and see how it goes. So I'm going to be teaching you how to create this cute little hedgehog. And I can already tell I got my camera sideways. Okay, let's try it a different way. Oh, you know, I had it all planned out and then it's not going to work right. Oh, dear me. You know how the best laid plans don't necessarily go all the time. Jeannie was saying that Jeannie was on with crafting casas. And we all have learning curves, right? So this is just going to be my first time going live. So we will get it figured out eventually about how to make it work right. And I'm going to just go ahead and go this way here. Hello from Dana. Thanks for coming on, sweet friend, and supporting my channel. I'm hoping you can see me just fine. Hi, Mary. Thanks for coming on. And we are just rolling. I'm going to teach you how to draw. I'm going to teach you how to draw this little hedgehog. Can you actually see anything? I'm just curious because I know my picture didn't get rotated correctly. And so I'm sorry about that. I'm going to have to be able to figure that out a little bit better next time. Let's see if we can't go this direction. Oh, let's see, solo. Let's try solo. We're going to do it this way. We're going to do it big and see what happens. And I don't know if that's going to work out okay, but we will. We will try. And of course, everything is a little odd and a little strange. So let's go ahead and try it. We're going to start with this little cute hedgehog. And, for me, I want to be able to draw it in closer to be able to see. That's better. Okay, thank you, Mary. For some reason, I can't figure out how to get it wide. I had it right the first time and then it got switched again. But anyway, let's go ahead and start. I'm going to be doing this little hedgehog and I'm just going to be using a regular old mechanical pencil and be able to draw it with that. And then the paper I'm going to be drawing on today is the Canson brand, the 140-pound watercolor paper is what I'm going to be using. And it's a student grade, but it's a great watercolor paper to start out because I'm going to be adding watercolor at the end to add the whimsical character to this little guy. So what I want to do is I'm going to start out and draw a line down the center of my image and across both ways. So down this way and across this way. And I have a little T mark right on there. Now for those who would like to get, who don't necessarily want to do the drawing part, but you're interested in having a copy of it, I do have a membership, the Ko-fi membership right here. It's ko-fi.com/Painting Crafty, and there you can join my membership there to get the free tracer, or not the free tracers, but a subscription, a sketchbook subscription there, to be able to join that group. And I'll send you all the black and white copies of anything that I draw on YouTube or Facebook. Hello, hello, ladies. Thanks for popping on. Thanks for popping on. So let's go ahead and grab your pencil and let's start drawing this little gal right here. We're going to be starting with just a circle shape right here. I like to warm my hand up when I do this. So I'm going to look for my center. Here's my center. And then I'm going to be starting with a circle. And I just want to make sure that I have enough room to be able to put his little snout. So I'm just going to make a little circle like this. I usually go around at least a couple times just to give my hand a little bit of time to warm up and get used to how I want to draw it. Now, once I have my circle on, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and draw this part of the nose. So we're going to create this part of the nose. If you look at it, it's going to come up a little ways past my center line. It comes to a little rounded point, and then it's going to come down and gradually meet his little face. So let's take a look at where I got my circle. So I'm going to go over here. Here's my center line. So I know I want to put the top of his nose about right here. It's a smaller circle. And then I'm going to draw my bottom line here where it's going to come right down at an angle, and we're going to just swoop right into that bottom side, just like that. And then we're going to come up here to the top, and I'm going to swag it down and then come up to the top of his head. So we're going to come down here, we're going to swag it down a little ways, and then reach right up there. It's going to carry all the way around. I'm thinking I want to set that nose up a little higher, so I'm going to start a little lower. on my circle. So here was my circle here. I want to start it a little bit lower and then bring it on up. I'm going to go ahead and erase my lines a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. The eraser I like to use is this high polymer eraser from Pentel. I just buy them at my local Walmart. They're nothing too fancy. And this won't leave any marks on your paper when you go to erase. So this is a great little eraser to include if you like to do this type of drawing. I draw a little heavy-handed, so I need to use a good eraser. I can get right on in here and erase my marks. Okay, so I have that part erased, and then I'd like to take, I have a little dust vacuum, and this is a great little handy tool. It has a hole in the bottom and has some brushes on there. So you can just go ahead and suck up all the little chunkies. This is a great little tool. If you don't have one, you should get one because it's super great to be able to do these things on. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add his body. So let's take a look at where his body is coming up to. So if we take a look here, this is our circle of our head. We're going to swoop it down and fill up our space all the way up and around. I'm going to do kind of a circle at the back, and then I'm going to put in his spikes at the end. So let's go ahead and look at our page here. We can come underneath here. We're going to drop it down. Now I'm working on, I believe this is like a 5.5 by a 5.5. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to swoop it down. Whoops, let's come a little lower with his belly. Here we go. We're going to come a little lower with his belly, and then we're going to swoop it around right to the back side. I'm going to carry on with my circle all the way to the top, and I'm going to go past my center line. And then when I get past my center line, I'm going to come down to his little head, right like that. Now let's go ahead and take the eraser, and let's go ahead and erase the spot, all of that in the middle, because we're not going to need that. That's just going to clear up that space so we can take a look at what we got. Okay, it looks kind of silly now. It's got a little bump on him right there on the top. But we're going to work his little spikes in to make it look like it's supposed to be. You use those erasers too, Jeannie? Yeah, they're really nice. They're a great eraser. You can use gum erasers too if that's what you have, but I kind of like this because I can get in there a little harder and be able to work my, I can work it a little easier. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is the little points I'm going to have up and down all the way around. We're just going to create them ziggy-zaggy up. And then when we get to this kind of point, we're going to turn it a little bit the opposite direction as we come around. And about this center line here is where we're going to add a flip this way and a flip that way, and then come around. So let's go ahead and start. So we can kind of come here and do our flip first. So we can go a flip this way, like that with his hair, and then a flip this way and back down. And we're going to come out with a flip. And then let's go ahead and use the other way around. So we can come up, do our little points, and then about right here is where we're going to change it, I guess, and come up. So we're going to come around this way and make some of those points come the other direction. Around we go. We're going to come right like that. And that's about all the farther. Now I'm going to come in and erase my little circle all the way around. Hi, Carrie. Thanks for popping on in. Yes, it's the first time doing my YouTube Live, and I've already got my camera set up incorrectly. But, you know, like I had said earlier, I had said on Jeannie's thing, there's always a learning curve, but we're just going to be brave and try new things and do it. And they might not be perfect the first time we do it, but we really do appreciate those who come out and support us and go through our learning curve and our wonkiness that we're doing today. But it's fun. I'm a grandma, so I said, grandma's got to learn new things too, right? I don't know if my granddaughter is watching, but hello, little Isla, if you're watching. Hello, Christy. Thanks for coming on. I loved your little book that you were doing. Today is a YouTube hop, so we have quite a few different presenters that are joining in today, and all of their links to their pages are listed down in the comments, so you can go and watch them live today. There's one more after me. Simply Bewitching with Wendy is next. But the links are all there. You can pop on and see what the creatives did today and see what they did. They are part of the Take 5 group, and they have been a wonderful support to me and to a group, and we're just working together to do this YouTube thing. Hi, Tarita. You're glad to be here with me. Thank you. I know it's a little different. I usually go live on Facebook, so this is all new to me. So we're giving it a whirl. Well, let's go ahead and let's put his next little parts on. So he's got a lovely little scarf that's wrapped around his belly. So we're going to be adding that. There is a little bit of a scarf that's coming this direction too. This part of the scarf is going to be on top. This one's going to be underneath. So let's go ahead and wrap that on that little guy. So here we come. We got his little belly here. It's kind of fat. So we're going to start here and we're going to come up a little bit narrower, like so. And then let's go ahead and swoosh that next bit of scarf that's going to be underneath him. I'm going to carry this at an angle a little bit. So it's going to come here. We're going to swoosh it out, but it's going to be underneath. So this one's going on top. It's that triangle-ish shape, and that's going to create a shape that looks like it's following behind his body. And then this one's going to be narrower here and then get a little wider as it comes out. I'm going to add a little curve here, like a little sideways smile face. That's going to add that little curve of the edge. And then I'm going to add a few little round balls here just to give it a little extra whimsy, to be able to draw the little strands of yarn that come right on out there. There we go. That's super cute. Now he's going to need some ears. So a hedgehog has little tiny ears right here. So he's got these little sideways U shapes. I did do one area that shows where it's the outside of his ear, but I'm going to start with the inside of his ear first. And I might have to make this shorter if I need to. I want it to sit a little ways back, not too far up front. So I want his ear to be back here towards this would be my middle line here. So I want it to be in no farther than past my middle line. So I'm going to come in and do a U shape like that, sideways U. And then I'm going to do another little U inside. And then to give his ear a little bit more dimension, I'm going to start at the top and do a curve around. And that's going to give it the outside of his ear shape. Now let's go ahead and connect my scarf a little bit behind his ear, because it would be behind his ear, not in front. Okay, so we have that part done. Now let's go ahead and add his eye. So let's take a look at his eye. His eye is just a small little eyes. In real life, hedgehogs have very tiny eyes, super, super small. And I'm going to come right up here and do his eye, just a round circle. Kind of like a little beady mouse eye is what it kind of reminds me of. It's a nice and clear picture. Go, great. I'm glad. I'm using the Wi-Fi from the studio. That's a first for me too. So lots of firsts. Let's maybe move that out of the way. And so it's an all learning curve, but thanks for letting me know, Carrie, that it's super good. You got to try, right, Wendy? You got to try. Well, hi. Hello there. Thanks for coming on, Jeannie. Thanks for coming on. Let's go ahead and we're going to put a little dark area here, but I'm going to still want to leave a little catch light, a little highlight in that light, and not have it all be dark if I can. Now I'm going to go ahead and do his muzzle. Now his muzzle, if we see on this one, he's got a little bit of a curve right on there. So he's got a soft little line that's got a curve, and this one's got a little curve here too. So let's try that and see if we can't do that. That's going to give him a little bit of a smile. So we're going to come down, curve it up. Oh, now he looks a lot more friendlier. And I'm going to change this down here just a little ways. I'm going to come in just a tiny bit and then come out. So by coming in just a little bit, and I'm sorry this isn't closer. I'm hoping you can see fine. We'll find out, I guess, on the replay. So by coming in just a little bit, changing that angle, coming in here, that just changes his face a lot from being one solid line. So by giving it a little bit of a curve, softening this, changing up this little bottom one just a tiny bit, all of a sudden gave that little guy a whole different character. He kind of looks like he's got a wild hairdo now. But okay, so now let's go ahead, and where you've got his little scarf on, let's go ahead and put his little feet on. So he's got some little feet just right at the bottom, and they are just simple little feet. They curve out. They've got 3 little bumps. I did 3 little bumps. I have no idea how many toes a hedgehog has. And then this is like a sock shape. So it's in the shape of a sock, where it's going to be an L shape coming down and making your little toes and curving it back. But this one, we're only going to see just the little part of his foot. We won't see the whole part of his leg. So let's start with his front ones, and then we'll put his back ones on. But if you notice, here's my line in my center. So his little foot is going to be in this area is where we're going to be building them. So let's start here. We're going to come here. We're going to do his first one. I'm going to go slightly out this direction. And then I'm going to do his toes, 1, 2, 3, and then come back. And then I'm going to come up here. And the way I drew it on this one, you could see the whole little foot. But if yours are closer, you might only see part of your foot. It's going to come at an angle. There we go. 3 little spots like that. And then now let's do the back foot. So we're going to come to the back foot. We're going to start here. This is where we're going to make our little L shape. So we're going to come back, and then we're going to do his heel, and then come down. Take an invisible line over. Take a look here. We don't want our foot to go too much lower than what our front ones are. So if I do kind of a light line, I have an idea of where I want my little foot to be. So we're going to come around like this. Do your 3 little toes. Come back in, and then do a little hook. So he's got a little bit of a bended foot. So we're seeing part of his leg. Okay, so there's that one. Now for the back one, I'm just going to see just his foot, none of his legs. So I'm going to come at an angle and do 1, 2, 3, and then come back. And there's his little back foot. Not a lot of detail, but it does add to your picture to have those little bit of difference in your legs. It's going to give an idea that they're going 2 different, the one's behind the other one. Okay, we should probably put this one up a little higher into our guy too. So that would be the same. So he would look like his foot is on top of him if we put our line there. So it's up that way. And maybe we want to put a little line like this, a little smile across the side. So then it looks like maybe there's a cutout hole inside of his scarf that his foot is sticking through. So that could be another little idea, is that you could put that little smile face there with a cut line that looks like his foot is sticking through his scarf, since his scarf is over his leg area. Okay, so we have that part on. Now this guy has a festive little crown of flowers. So we're going to be working on creating this little category of flowers. And if you look here, he's got some berries that are coming up in different areas. Usually 2 or 3 at least of your berries to create your little crown. And he's got some different ones. He's got some flowers that are rounded. He's got some that are a daisy shape. He has one here that is kind of a star shape. And then this is a sideways daisy. So by just kind of creating a different texture around by adding some different shapes of your flowers and your berries. And then of course he's got some leaves in there too. But you want to make sure you've got some going all different directions. So this one is going this way. This ones are coming up. This one is switching and coming there. And then these ones are going down. So when you're building your little flower crown for your hedgehog, just kind of remember to put some different areas in different spots by going different directions. So let's start with building his little flower crown. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go past his head. I'm going to start up here with a round circle. I'm going to erase a little bit of this too, because I want that flower crown to be the center part. I'm just going to start with a little round circle, and then I'm just going to create a little organic shape around it. And that's all the simple it is. That's just this little simple shape. All that it is. Now I'm going to come here and do a little flower. So I'm going to do perhaps a round circle that's kind of flattish, more like an oval. That'll give it a little bit more dimension. And then this one, I'm going to make it look like it has petals. So I'm going to come up, do those little jagged a little bit deeper into my flower and give it some more flower-like qualities. Then I'm going to come around here. I'm just going to do a round flower this time with a round center. Come down, maybe do another daisy. So maybe some longer petals, flowers, to be able to give a little variety. Okay, there we go. Now he's getting close to his ears, but I still want to go ahead and go around them. So I'm going to come in here, do another rounded one. I think I'm going to repeat this flower here. So I'm going to come in, do a round circle, then come to my outside and do that little orby kind of figure like that. And I'm getting close to having enough flowers. So maybe I'll drop another one in here. So maybe I'll do a small center this time and recreate that one that I have at the top. So I'm duplicating up some of my shapes that I've created. All right, let's go ahead and pop some berries in. So I'm going to come up to the top. I'm going to arch it this direction, I believe. I'm going to put a berry at the end. Those are just round little circles. Sticks, add the sticks off to the side. Those are going to have, you can give a little bit of arch to them and add as many as you think you want. I'm going to come over here. This time I'm going to add a leaf. So since I went this direction with this one, I'm going to come in and go the other one, the other one. Hello, thanks for popping on in. I'm so glad you're here. If you have an iPhone, you can zoom in, just pinch out. Not sure if Androids work that way. You know, I'm not for sure. Let's try it. Let's try it. Well, it's not working upside down, Mary, but that's a good idea. You know, I had it set correctly when I was doing it originally, or I did a test. I did several tests. And of course, I had it set up perfectly before I went live. And then it was switched around and I couldn't get it to be where I wanted it when I wanted to go live. But, you know, that's how things go when you're learning new things. And you just got to give yourself some grace about learning some things. And it's not going to be perfect the very first time you do it, I don't think. But I'm sorry. I did have it set the right way, and then now it's not. And I apologize for that. So I can't get it switched the right way. Did that make a big difference? I don't know. Okay, so all right, so we have this little crown on. Let's go ahead and throw a horizon line in here. I'm going to erase a few more of these little lines, right like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little horizon line in for this little guy. So it looks like he's standing on something. So on this little guy, I did put the horizon line here is where I put my horizon line. So you could take a look. I'm going to drop it down close by his feet, like so. He's going somewhere. All right, we have that part done. Let's go ahead and put his little mushrooms in. Now I created some simple little mushrooms as well. They've got little colorful ones that are here. So I'm just gonna do these little simple little shapes where the tops come up and then they're a very little top of a triangle. This one has a little extra step here that comes down below. And then it's got some lines in there. So let's go ahead and make some mushrooms. Those are fun. We have done various mushrooms on my page too over this last month. Here we go, up we go. So we're just going to come on up and do it around. And then I'm going to come at an angle, just at a little bit of an angle, and then do a little bit of a mountain shape for my mushroom, and then come down. And I'm going to put a little bit of an underneath area here too. So I'm going to do that where it comes off the side here. So it's going to come up, and then we're going to come around the back side of it. And you're not going to see this side because I'm going to put another mushroom in there. But if you didn't have the mushroom there, you could go easily make another little part here to be able to draw your underneath. But I'm going to put another mushroom in. This one's going to have a little different top to it. I'm going to turn it. Now this one's going this way, so I want to switch it up and have a different direction. So I'm going to come in and do kind of a hat shape where it's a little bit of a rounded top, a hat, and then down like that. I'm going to give it a little bit, I'm going to erase it there, like so. And then let's come down. Here we go. And then come underneath here as well. Okay, so we've got a little hat mushroom, and I can see a little bit underneath here. So I'm glad I drew that there. I can add the little parts that I want to see underneath. So I'm just going to be drawing in these little lines that come across, like so. Okay, and he's going to have some spots, so I'm going to be able to draw some of these spots here, like so. And this guy's going to have some spots too. Going to add those on there. And I'm going to be throwing some leaves in too, because I wanted it to look like the leaves were falling down. So let's go ahead and add some of the leaves on there. So we're going to come across on the floor and add just some leaves. So this is kind of a football shape where I'm going to have one that's going this way, come in. Oops, I don't want it to be the same is the one thing. So if I've got one here, I don't want my hand, the tendency is to draw it the same way I did it before. Hi, Deb. So my hand wants to just go in and repeat my shape. So it's a good thing to intentionally make sure that you're doing something different. So I'm going to come up a little higher. I'm going to switch my direction, go out to a point, come back and touch. That changes it up. And then I'm going to come over here and maybe do one just a little bit on this side here as well, like that. And then let's add some that are floating in the air. So I'm going to come over here and add a smaller one here, out to a point and back, and then coming over here as well, down. So I changed it up so they're not all the same. So our hand wants to really duplicate what we just did. So it's a good idea to make sure that you've got them switched. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead, and I like to do a little bit of a pen and ink work. So I'm going to take a Micron pen. Now these are my pen of choice. A Micron pen is going to have archival ink in it. It'll be permanent. So when you put this on for your watercolor, it's not going to smear around. Now you could go ahead and do this in anything that you wanted to. Once you've got it drawn, you could do this in colored pencil, acrylic paint, watercolor, or even just pencil, color crayons as well, because you have your shape done. And like I said earlier, if you aren't interested in drawing, but you still want to do a coloring along or anything, I do have my Ko-fi page that you can check it out. It's the Ko-fi page here, and just pop that in, and that will take you to my sketchbook membership. And at that spot is where I send out black and white copies. That's what this is what you'll get, so you can have something to draw along with. Also, it's kind of nice sometimes too, just to have a visual to be able to draw and practice that way. Because drawing is basically a skill that it's for everyone to do. It's not just for some. It's just one of those things we have to practice, and the more often we do it, the better you're going to get. So I encourage you to try drawing and just have a little sketchbook. They don't even have to be anything that you show anyone else. You can just keep it for yourself and try drawing along. I know Deb is watching, and she just sent me a text message earlier, or on my page, on my Facebook page, about how yesterday when I did my quick sketch Tuesdays, which is I do a 30-minute sketch along, and that she really wanted it to do it live with me. And she did, and she was so, I mean, she kind of joked that her bird needed to go on a little bit of a diet because he was a little chubby. But she was really impressed with how well it looked in the end. And that's because she's been practicing on her own, and she's been doing it for quite a few years now already. But you'd be really surprised at how much your skills are going to grow and improve just by sketching weekly and practicing. That's all it takes, is a little bit of practice. Anybody can learn, and when I break down the steps, that's just helpful to be able to draw along as well. Okay, let's put his little feet in here. And it doesn't have to look like mine to be good. You can have all kinds of different ideas, and yours is going to look like you drew it, because everybody's hands is different. Everybody's going to draw things differently. And that is great too. I always encourage the people who draw along on my Facebook page, Painting Crafty, to go ahead and post their things on my page underneath in the comments. And I love to share your items that you do. So I think you're a great encourager to the other folks too as well, because they can see that your ideas and get inspiration from your drawings as well. It's just a great community over there. So if you don't follow me over at Facebook, you can follow me there too as well. And I'm hoping to come live here on YouTube at least, hopefully maybe once a week. That would be great to go live. And hopefully I'll be able to get my camera situation figured out and do better next time. But I do appreciate those who have come in today and watched. Here we go. This is a cute little drawing. And if I go back and the video quality is super not good and you can't really see what you're doing, I can always go and record it again and include it in a better video. because I want you to be able to see and be able to try to be able to do the drawing. So I want you to be able to do that as well. So let's come in here and do a little outline work on these little items as well. Now this is just a tiny little detail. Now if you are interested in doing watercolor, you could just leave your pencil marks too. You don't have to do this little bit of line work. I just enjoy this process of doing the ink work as well, but you most certainly can do watercolor without doing all this ink work. I just like this look or this style. We just did one on my page, I think it was on Tuesday, where we didn't do all the ink work. All we did was just the pencil, and then we went right in with our watercolor. Okay, I'm almost done doing this. Oh, I needed to add a little bit of texture onto this guy. I wanted to add a little bit more doodling on him. Like so. Let's do this guy here too. And once I get this erased, I think it really changes the look of the picture as well too. Now I'm going to bop down to a number 1. This was a number 5, a 0.5. I don't usually go any larger than a 0.5 with these small little drawings, and I don't normally go any smaller than a 1 because the paper, the watercolor paper, does have a bump into it, and it will kind of rip up your end of your tip of your markers if you go smaller than that. So let's go ahead and create a little bit of a pattern here. First of all, I'm gonna create a plaid. So this is the look that I'm going for, that plaid look. So I'm going to come across like so, this direction. Oops. My pens are starting to wear out. I might have to go shopping. I love to shop for art supplies. Okay, so let's come across this way now too, on this one. So first went across this direction. Now I'm going to do a single line. I'm going to come down again and create another line this direction and create a plaid. Okay, and then on this one, I'm going to come across this direction and add a plaid. Okay, I think I pretty much have it. Oh, oops, I was going to add those little marks on his back. So I'm going to come up here and add just a tiny bit of the V's that are on here. This will be like his little extra spikes. You know, I've actually seen a live hedgehog before. Has anybody else seen a live hedgehog before? I've seen a live hedgehog one time. It's so amazing when they do roll up into those balls. They are an amazing little creature. I'm going to add a few little dots too, just to give it a little bit more texture in the background here. Add a little bit more whimsy to this little guy. Okay, we're ready to do some erasing. Now on these small ones, it is a good idea if you do have, and I don't think I have it plugged in, let's go ahead and use this. If you do have a little heat tool, is to go ahead and dry it real quick. At the zoo, is to give that ink just a little bit of drying because it will, with it being so small, it takes a little bit for the ink to dry. Now I can just go right on over and erase my lines that I know I don't want. And I can take a look and see where I've forgotten, because usually there's always some place I've forgotten. Like right there, I can see where I forgot. Yeah, I didn't hear it make any noise at all. It just kind of rolled up in a ball inside of the little boy's hand who had it, who was the owner of it, but sure was cute. I believe aren't they a nocturnal animal as well? And they do a lot of sleeping during the day, so they might be awake at night. They might make a little chirping noise or something. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Now, for those who don't know, and I'm just all new to this YouTube thing too, what YouTube really likes is thumbs up. So if you click out of your comments there will be a bar there and it'll show you thumbs up area. So if you wouldn't be so kind as to hit the thumbs up, which is totally different than what we're used to on our other platform that we go live on. So they like a thumbs up. So if you could give me a thumbs up, I would so appreciate it. Just go ahead there. And if you don't subscribe to my channel, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel. That would be a blessing as well. We're going to go ahead and add the watercolor to our little whimsical guy here. Now, when you get your set of watercolors, you don't have to worry so much about the quality when you're first beginning. Just get what you can afford. Watercolor comes in all different prices. So you can just get what you can afford. These ones happen to be tube watercolors, and then I put them inside of here, let them dry, and then they become hard. But the colors that when you're looking at them in the pan look so different than when they are in on your paper. So it's a good idea to create a chart. So that'll help you to know how bright and how dark your colors are. So use a piece of paper that you normally use, and then you're going to want to have a piece of paper towel to be able to have, because this is what you're going to blot off on your to see, take some of the water out. Whoa. And you're going to have your water. You can have, this one is well loved. It's been around for a long time, but if you have a big enough well, you don't have to worry so much about having a clean side and a dirty side, but you do need to have a little bit of water. I'm going to be using a watercolor brush. I'm going to be using the Velvet Touch Princeton brush is what I'm going to be using. Did I move that camera? Oops. We'll go this way. I'm going to be using the Velvet Touch Princeton brush, which is a watercolor brush. This is a size 6. They do come in different sizes. I don't usually go any smaller than a 4, and about a 10 is what I normally, the largest brush I have. But these have a great tip on it. So if you're going to be doing these small drawings or any watercolor one, you want to have a round brush that has a great tip on it. And the one thing about the watercolor brushes is that they're going to come to a nice point like this around. It's going to have a nice spring in it, and it's going to work. The shape is going to pop right back for you. So these ones aren't that terribly expensive, this particular brand. I believe I bought mine at either Michael's or Hobby Lobby, one or the other. One or the other is what I did. So let's go ahead and let's start mixing some of our colors. Now with watercolor, you're going to start light and then work your way dark. And my palette is super messy here. I've got so much going on. Let's go ahead and wipe this off. Now this does have a metal tray. You do buy the boxes separate. If you're going to use tube watercolor, you buy the boxes separate. And then these little containers come separate. So that's what you put your watercolor, your actual mix in. But the nice thing about the metal is all you have to do is just wipe it off and you can use it again. You can also use the color that's in there because it's dry, but you can just add a little water and away you're ready to go. Now I should have, before I started, which I did not do, is to take a little bit of water in a spray bottle, go ahead and moisten your colors. And what this will do is just make it easier right away to get your color out. So it's a great idea if you're using any kind of cake watercolor, and a hardened one, is to add a little bit of spray over it, and that's just going to help moisten it up so you don't have to work so hard at getting your watercolor out of your pan. Now if you're right-handed, keep everything on your right-hand side, and if you're left-handed, keep everything on your left-hand side. That way you're not going to accidentally drip any of your watercolor over on top of your paper. Watercolor isn't not considered a permanent art medium, so the water will affect it when you have when you drop things on it. So if you have less of a chance is to keep your things on where they belong. Okay, so I have a wireless mouse too. So many new things. So many new things. I'm so sorry that I didn't get figured out that right camera angle. I thought I had everything done right, and then when I went to go live, I didn't. I apologize. So sad. Okay, let's go ahead and mix a little gray. I'm gonna choose a warm gray first. I'm gonna work with my black. So I'm gonna start here. My black color actually has a little bit of brown in it, so it's a little warmer. This one is a Payne's gray, so it's got a little bit more blue in it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start with my black, and I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna be mixing about the consistency of tea. So I'm picking my color up, adding some water, and I'm going to just get a nice puddle of kind of tea. And then I'm going to test it on my paper towel and see where I am. That's still kind of dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more water. So the more water you add, the lighter your color is going to be. So I'm just picking it up and adding it to it. That should probably work. I'm still going to give it a tap to make sure I don't have too much moisture in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and start layering my color. So with watercolor, you start light and then work your way dark. The color wants to flow where the paper is wet. So it's going to stay in the area that I put it. But if I accidentally get water into this area where I don't want it, it's going to flow there because that's where the water is and that's where it wants to flow. I'm going to just kind of scoot around these little other areas like my berries and things like that. I'm going to scoot around those areas. If I get a little bit there, I'm okay. This is going to be a fairly light color when it dries. But when I'm getting down here in my flowers, I kind of might want to be a little bit more careful. Just use the tip of my brush and tap a little bit of color in there so I don't get too carried away with having all my gray there. With watercolor too, it's one of those art mediums where it's okay and it's actually preferred to leave a little bit of the white paper showing. So I didn't fill all of it in. I left a little bit of my white paper because that's going to be your brightest whites and your brightest highlights. So I'm just changing my brush directions when I'm putting it on. I'm not doing just a solid painting. I'm changing the directions and going loose in with my color. Now I'm going to give that a chance to dry before I do my next color. I don't want to go in too early. And I actually see a little area here where I forgot to put a little pen work on this part of the little scarf here. Kind of forgot to add the little checks in there. And I did forget to connect my mushroom. Okay, so I want to give that a chance to dry just a tiny bit before I were to do any more work close to where my color is wet. And all of that's very close. So I'm going to give that a chance to dry. I'm going to move up to my mushrooms. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of some of these rustier colors that are on my palette. And I'm just going to wash some of that color in. Add it on there. And then I can change up my colors by adding another layer of something else. So I'm just going to layer those ones in the same. Let's go ahead and do the stem. I'm going to take a little bit darker color, come right in. Whoops, not enough water. Okay, here we go. We're going to just spin right down. A little bit more color there. Up after me is, we do have a hopathon going on today. Inside of our Take 5 group is doing a little bit of a YouTube hop today. And up after me is going to be Simply Bewitching Crafts by Wendy. And all of their links are in my comments. So if you'd like to watch the next presenter, they're going to be up next and you'll be able to just follow right along on the craft hop today. And if you haven't had a chance to watch the other ones, their links are in the comment too. You might want to go out and give their pages a check, their channels, like them, follow them, see what they're doing and offering on YouTube. We'd love that if you did. So let's go ahead and add just a tiny bit more brown here. Let's add that in there. Here we go. Let's get a little darker underneath here. All right, now let's give that a chance to dry. Let's come back in and do another wash of gray onto my little hedgehog. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to be thinking about where would I want to add a shadow. Right here is where I want to make it darker. So I'm going to come in and add another layer inside of his ear, close around this part of his body, because this would be underneath. So I'd want a darkness there. Underneath here is where I'd want some dark, because that's underneath his body. And I'm going to leave that a little bit brighter up there. I'm still going to leave a little bit of white around his eyes. And let's come over here and add another darkening over here. So again, where would I want to add a shadow? Underneath here is where I'd want one because it's underneath on the dark side of his belly. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more color in here. I'm going to be changing the direction of my brush. And I'm going to kind of go in the way that the top of his little spikes are drawn on there. That's the direction I'm going to be moving my brush. So I'm kind of creating a look of that fur or spikes, whatever he might have, by kind of changing my brush direction and changing it that way. Okay, that looks good. Let's take a look at his nose. I'm going to do just kind of a light peachy color. And my time is rolling right along here. I'm just going to take a light little peach color. I'm going to tab it off. I don't want a lot of moisture on my brush when I go do these smaller areas. And I'm going to tap it on here with just the tip of my brush. But I want to see if I can't leave a little bright highlight on the very top of his nose, because that would be kind of a little catch light that would be there. I'm going to use that same little color that I used on his nose. I'm going to use that on his feet too. So I'm going to come in with my light little peach, because hedgehogs do have like these brightly colored little pink feet. They're kind of cute. Little guys on here. Now I'll be adding another shadow here because that foot would be behind. So I do want to add a little bit of darkness to the ones that are behind. The one up front will be your lightest foot. Okay, let's add a little bit more color to my mushrooms. So this time I'm going to add less water to my paint. So I'm going to come off to the side here, add a little less water. And I'm just, now this is still wet up here, so I can still kind of touch maybe my spots. And that color will just kind of ease out, and it's not going to be such a hard shape. So I'm just going to let that color be there. I'm going to come in and pick up some yellow ochre, like a yellowish, a dirty yellow. And I'm going to come in here and do the same thing to this one. So I'm going to touch some spots and let that color just kind of soften out on its own. And let's pick up a little bit of brown. That little front one might need a little bit more color of some sort. Let's pick up a little bit more here, just to change them up a little bit. Let's add a little bit more brown in there to give it a little bit more interest. Here we go. Cute. This is called a wet on wet technique. So my little mushrooms are wet, and I'm just tapping in the top and letting the watercolor do its work. Okay, cute as can be. Let's go ahead and add some colors to our little flowers. So I'm going to come in and add just the tiniest bit of yellow. I'm going to use some similar colors, and I'm just going to tap these in with the tap of my brush, and I'm not looking to be exact. I'm just popping that color in there. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a little bit of this punchy, kind of a reddish purple. Let's add a little bit in there to give it a little bit more color. And I'm just tapping it in, and I'm going to be adding some clear water over the top of these colors. You can even go into some of your yellow. You don't have to be perfect with this. And then let's take a little bit of that rusty color that we put in the mushrooms, and let's tap some of that color in. Just up and down into my flowers. Now I'm going to rinse my brush out. I've got clean water now on here, and I'm going to give it a tap, not to have too much water. And I'm just going to tap up and down again just to add a tiny bit more water. And that's going to blend that colors together and kind of give us a real fun look to it. Okay, so there you go. There's my little flowers. Now you could take a look if you have gel pens, and I know there's some of you that love to use the gel pens. You can do a little gel pen work on this too, which would be fun at the end. Give your the thing a chance to dry, and then you can come back and do that little bit of work with the gel pen. Now I'm going to pick up kind of a nice little bright green, and I'm going to have that there. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop that on. So I'm going to just put a little bit of green into my greens. Put a little bit of green into my greens. Okay, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and make a berry, and I'm thinking I did kind of a blueberry on my last one, which I kind of like that color. I'm going to take kind of a bright blue, but I'm going to add just a little bit of gray into it too and kind of tone it down so it's not too shocking blue. And let's add that blue right into some of these berries. Let that color just set right there and see what it does. You know, I didn't put another berry on there. Oh well, that'll be fine. Let's go ahead, and I see where I did another leaf. So maybe I was thinking I was drawing a berry, but actually I drew a leaf. Let's pop that little color in here. There we go. Okay, now if my areas were too wet around here and you're thinking that your color is getting too crazy, you can lift some of your color. So you can come in with just a clean brush that's kind of damp. You can come in here and touch that color and pick it up a little bit to kind of smooth it out. If your paper is too wet, your colors are going to want to just kind of go like that. So you definitely want to give yourself a little bit of time for your colors to dry. I'm going to lift a little bit of this blue because it did get kind of dark and it's just sitting right on top of there. So I went ahead and I picked that up just like that. There we go. Let's go ahead and add his little plaid on. So I'm going to use that same purple that I used for the flowers up there. I'm going to take that same purple color and let's add a little bit of that to the scarf. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to do just one band of purple down this direction, coming across there. And thinking I'm going to add it here as well. And then let's come over here and do one. And let's add it here. I got a little carried away with my colors. Now I'm going to give that a little bit of chance to dry before I add my next color in. Let's work a little bit on our leaves. So I'm going to take that same kind of idea that I did on my flowers. I'm going to do that on my leaf. So I'm going to come in here, tap in a little bit of color, but then I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of color on top of that. So here's the purple, and I'm going to tap in a little bit of rust as well, and let those colors just mix together and play together inside of there. So they're mixing and playing right on inside of there. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more. Okay, add some of that color on there. Our leaves are pretty much off. Well, a lot of our leaves are off the tree. I know I've posted some really beautiful fall pictures this year of fall here in Minnesota. And we've had, where I'm at, we've had some beautiful color this year, and it's lasted a really long time. And it's been beautiful to see, but the colors are just about done. There's are almost off all the trees. I'm going to switch up to my next brush, my different layer. We're almost done. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that green color that I did the greens in his up here in his little crown. And I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom part. I'm going to go this direction with my paint. And I'm not going to get too close to a lot of those items. I'm using the tip when I get close to my small items that I don't want my color to mix in. Because remember, if it will go and it will flow in to the areas that are wet. So I'm kind of pushing it a little bit here with those bottom leaves. But even if I do get some green there, it's not going to be, it won't look bad at all. Let's go ahead and do that top. So I'm just going to go ahead and take some of that rust. And I'm going to take some of that yellow ochre. And I'm going to have them both up here about tea consistency. And then let's go ahead and put some of that on. Now this color, I'm going to be going down. So I'm going to start at one end. I'm going to change kind of the directions of my brush. And I'm going to mix my colors as I go. So I'm going to have some rust, some yellow coming in there close. I'm not looking to cover up everything on the back. Even if I have some white space showing, I'm fine with that too. Okay, and then this guy is going to get a little sprinkle magic too. I'm going to give him a little tap, tap, tap of some sprinkle magic. Sprinkle magic is basically, I'm going to take a color, like a red-brown color here, maybe a little darker, maybe a little bit more black in there too. And I'm going to mix a color that I'm going to add a splash, a little bit of splash. Now my colors are pretty wet, so that means when I do my splashing, they're going to soften pretty easily. So if you want more of an exact dot, which is kind of on here, if you want more of an exact dot, you need to give a chance for your paper to dry a little bit more before you do all that sprinkling. So if you're okay with it being softened, I'm going to cover up his face a little bit too. I'm going to put my paper towel there so I don't get too much on his face. And then I'm just going to do a splish, splish, splish up and down just to add a little bit more interest to my background. Let's hold this up. Now you can see as soon as that hit the background, those little dots kind of just super softened. So they're not, here I found my right drying tool. I'm going to give this a quick little dry. I've got about 5 more minutes before the next one because I want to do his cheek yet. We haven't gotten his cheek on. And I always like to have that base color pretty dry before I put my cheek on. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a dry. Now your paper is probably going to curl. You can kind of see how my paper is curling like that. I can flip it over and hit the back with a little bit of heat. Thanks, Jeannie. And that's going to flatten it back out again. So I kind of lost my curve. I can hit it with more. If you're doing a piece and it really ripples on you, you can wait for it to dry, wet your back, and then put a little heat on there and that will soften it too. I'll bring it back to where it's more flat. Let's do his cheek. So I'm going to use that same coral color that I had used earlier. I just want to do a kind of a nice watered down one though. I don't want it too bright, and I'm looking for really a soft bit of water. I'm going to come in here to do his cheek. I'm going to go tap, 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 not trying to do a perfect circle. I'm going to add some color. I'm going to come to the inside of his ear too as well. I'm going to put a little blush of it right here on his little face. Now I'm going to take a little bit of clean water, tap it, and then I'm going to come back in with the tip of my brush and add a little bit, ever so much of water, and soften that line so it's not such a hard line. So we're giving him just that cute little cheek. Okay, darling, darling. Let's do a little bit of that splash, splash, splash. Now because my paper is dry, let's try a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to show you what the difference is. So we're going to have both styles of dots on here. Okay, so now I have that little dot on there. You got more of a speckled look, so I have a combination. One was a wet dot, and then one is more of a harder dot. Now we just have one last thing to do. If you don't have a Uniball pen, a Signal Uniball pen, this is a great little pen you're going to want to purchase. After the live, I will go ahead and put all the links for the Amazon links that if you would like to buy any of these things, be easy to find. I am an Amazon affiliate. I would get a small, very small commission if you bought one, but I have to let you know that up front. You know, I forgot to add the brown in here. I'm getting busy talking and I forgot to add that next color. I want to add that on there. I'm going to come across, add another layer. So we're just, I forgot to add the on there too. Okay, let's add a little bit of purple in there too. Okay, so I've got a little bit of the plaid going by adding the next color. I can come across and add another color this direction. So I can come across this way as well. Now I need to do something with those little spots here. I forgot to do those. Let's add the little dots there. Okay, we got enough time just to add a little bit of white. I'm going to come in with my Uniball pen and add just a tiny bit of white on him. I'm repeating that little triangle-ish shape there just on top, just to bring a little bit of highlight. I could come in and give his little muzzle a little bit of that too. And if you lost your white here, you can go ahead and add just a tiny bit on there and brighten it up. You can come in and add a few more white dots on your mushrooms. There we go. Okay, he's super cute. Let's add a few little lines off to the side. We'll just eke out every moment. I'm going to turn it because that works easier for me. I'm going to do a little doodle pattern with my number 1 to act like a little bit of a border. So I like little dash marks, little X's. Usually somewhere along the line I put a heart in. It's kind of one of my, I like my little hearts for my doodles. Let's come across here. Crossed. Over. And then let's add one this direction this way. And then we're going to call him done. There. And we're going to call him done. Let's take a look. Let's do back. We're going to switch cameras and see what happens. There I am. We'll switch cameras. And I promise I'll get better as we go along, and we'll figure out some more camera things, and hopefully it wasn't too bad of an angle for you, that you were able to see something. And like I said, if I go back and watch the replay and you just really can't see anything at all, I'll do a pre-recorded one and then pop it in the YouTube channel, because I want you to be able to see what we actually accomplished tonight and did. And up next will be Simply Bewitching with Wendy, and she's going to be coming on next. So thanks for hanging out with us today in the Take 5, and hopefully you'll come back and join another YouTube hop with us. Thanks now. Bye.